This is the behind the scenes for Might of the Munificent, my latest film, and I'm just going to be talking about some stuff I found interesting while making this film. So, the first thing is this first shot here, which is like the shot of the Republic fleet. Um, they're all attached to the space background. They were a little heavy. They kind of like pulled forward on the big plate kind of thing, so I had to put like counterweights on the back. And if you didn't notice, that's a new ship in the center of the fleet, the Nebulon A. Kind of the thing is that the Nebulon B, which like the rebels used, was originally an Imperial ship, but this is like the Republic version if it existed. And I'm gonna be doing a whole lore video on that.
Lieutenant Merkel, there's a ship jumping from hyperspace.
Prepare for battle.
So for those two shots there with the guy in the trench, like the command pit thing that you see on Star Destroyers, and then Lieutenant Merkel here, those sets are extremely tiny. I wasn't going to build like an entire Venator bridge, which is kind of what the Nebulon A has on the front of it. So I just built the few small sections to get the shots I needed, and it worked out pretty well. And this is the first shot that we see of the Munificent that I built. Now, this is a completely custom built model. I have a whole series of me building it on YouTube, so you can go check that out. But in order to get this shot with, because it's a pretty big model, so in order to get the whole space background to fit, I put it at an angle, as you can see here. And I had to do some like structural supports in the back to stop it from falling over, which is pretty cool. This shot with the turrets and the rest of the turret shots in the film is an upside down shot. Now, that's a technique that I developed for part one of War on Obannadia, where I had to film my huge Venator from the bottom, and you can't just like support it from the bottom because you see the supports. So what I did was I flipped it upside down and shot it from above and then flipped and then rotated the shot. So it's the same thing here. The Munificent is upside down, and then I'm just moving the guns from there. You should probably see the bridge in this shot, but that's not really the focus. The focus is on the cannons, so I think it's fine.
Eliminate them all, leave no survivors.
So with this tactical droid, I thought it was really important that he didn't look like he was in space, because the bridge of the Munificent has a lot of windows. So if I had him like really close to the window, it would just look like she was floating in space, which was not good. So I added like the window beams in the background, and then also put a green filter on one of my lights. Now, this is kind of a reference to the Clone Wars, where all the Separatist ships have this green color in the background. So to have that, it kind of made it a little bit more accurate. It's a little bit much, but I think it works fine. That's also a custom tactical droid build. Lego has an official model of an official minifigure of a tactical droid, but A, I don't have it, and B, it's extraordinarily expensive, and C, there's only one color scheme. All the tactical droids have different colors on them. So if I build my own, like the one you see here, I can have different colors of tactical droids if I want. Like I could put green on one of them, and there might be a different one that's like a gold tactical droid. So it just gives it that little bit of extra life, I guess, to a droid. So for that shot with the clone, in the wall exploding behind him, that set actually has like a removable panel that I built into it. One is just like the normal wall, and then the other one is like the blasted through hole. So when I did the explosion, I just, for one of the frames, I just swapped out the wall for the other one, and then put some stars and space behind it, and it works pretty well. The black charring on the outside kind of gets lost in the space behind it, like the space, I don't know, the black space of space. It kind of gets lost, but I think it's fine. You don't see it for that long, and the dark gray really helps it too. I'm also using some interactive lighting for the first time. I have this little flashlight, and I built this kind of cover for it to kind of get an orange glow to it, which works pretty well. Um, that's another thing. The camera shake and the interactive lighting are the two like big things that I did for this film, which I think are really good. And then there's this clone who smashes his head on the wall. And that was something that I just really wanted in this film. Like I wanted to show like the violence of these explosions. So to have him get a real nice crunch against that wall was something that I really wanted. And as you can see, I'm using the old style of clone heads. I've explained this before, but I think it's just so much better for the variety of heads that you can get. There's the serious face, and then of course there's the angry clone, and there's also like a happy clone, and there's the Django clones. But for the new clones with like the new skin color, there's like three faces, and one of them is Cody, and one of them is Rex, and the rest are just like the bland serious face. So they're good heads, but in terms of like stop motion and storytelling for like this guy hitting his head and then going ah with the face, it just doesn't work because it's just the one face and it's pretty boring. And when the explosion like hits on the ship, for most of it, it's like attached to the ship with putty, but I did attach some of it to like the wall in the background, um, just to like kind of get it to fly off into space, like the sparks and stuff.
Get us out of here.
So this shot with Lieutenant Merkel is a retake of a previous shot was not good. So that was like a high priority shot to redo. And when I did redo it, like towards the end, it came out really nice. I got like the sparks flying in the background, and the camera shake again, and the motion is just really good. This might be one of my favorite shots, especially since it was not good at the beginning. So this shot with the Nebulon and the Architans is actually pretty funky. So as you can see, the only thing that's moving are the two ships, but for some reason when I filmed this, I had the background connected to the camera, and then I moved both of those around the ships that were stationary. I have no idea why I didn't just move the ships, but I didn't, and it's not terrible, but it was a lot more complicated than it had to be. And also to erase like the support beams of the ships underneath, I had to get a clean plate of the shot, which is basically just the background. And then you can use that to erase parts of the foreground that you don't want, like the support struts of the ships. So for this shot, this is maybe one of the best views that you get of the Munificent. I included this shot just because I wanted you to see more of the ship. So having it like fly past the camera, I thought was a good way to do that. And he's just like on a track on the floor that he kind of slides along. And it actually looks pretty cool to see like some of the greebling details that I put on there. So that shot with the Architans exploding actually has a fish in it, if you didn't know. I was looking through my orange bucket to see what I could use for my explosions, and I was like, ooh, a fish. And so I took the fish and I put it in one of the frames of the shots. And you know, why? Just because. That's all I really have time for this week, but there is still more to talk about, so come back next week for part 2 of this behind the scenes.